Hello there, welcome back to Simon's Shed, and a massive thank you to all of you who've watched the TT120 Scotsman train set review, and all of the people who've subscribed. Had a couple of hundred new subscribers, so welcome aboard, and I do appreciate the support. So today we're going to take another look at the TT120 Loco Blink Bonnie. We're going to be brave. We're going to take a screwdriver to the tender, and we're going to open it up, and I'm going to show you how to fit a DCC chip. So I'll compare the performance on DC and DCC, and I'll also point out where there is space to fit a speaker if you would like to convert yours to sound fitted. So let's have a quick update first of all on the DC performance. Well, they said TT stood for tabletop, so yep, looks like they were right. So yeah, running on DC, you do get that sort of noise. I'm absolutely sure it's the cheap train set controller, and I am looking on eBay for a Gagemaster Model D. But yeah, you can hear the hear that sort of buzzing sound, and it gets worse the slower you go. I did say in the video, the original review, the crawl was good. Perhaps should have qualified that with the crawl is good, considering I'm using the cheap train set controller. But I've never known a Loco improve so much during the running in process. So let's take another look and listen at the crawl performance on DC now. The noise comes across a lot louder on the video, I will say that, but I think that's really good, considering it, as I say, it's the cheap train set controller. And I've got no issue with that at all. And as I say, it seems to keep improving the more I run it. So what we're going to do now is show you how to fit a DCC chip. I was a bit scared about this. I'm sure some of you are apprehensive too if you've got one. Quick reminder of the instructions. Looks like it's 2 screws and lever up the body. It's a Next 18 decoder. My only Next 18 chip is inside this Dapol Class 68. So sorry Dapol, I'm going to steal your chip. That's what a Next 18 decoder looks like, by the way, in case you're not familiar. And it's that little white rectangle that is the actual connector bit. So back to the Hornby Loco. Ignore these 2 obvious big screws. It's these hidden screws here that we want to undo. And I struggled to find a screwdriver big enough because all my stuff is N gauge and uses tiny screws. But managed to find this one which fits nicely. So yeah, it's just these 2 screws here at the back, right at the back. And you see the tender levers up. Now, wiggle it side to side. Don't just pull it straight up because it won't come off. If you watch here, wiggle it side to side and it comes off quite easily. And there's the PCB, the black PCB, and the sort of blanking board, or the DC chip if you'd like to call it that. Comes off very easily. And there's the white Next 18 connector. Pop the chip in. Now you can probably see it does require a reasonably firm press to actually go in. Give it a little wiggle to check, but yeah, that's it. So again, hook those tabs at the front of the tender back in. See there, it slots in. Make sure it's done on both sides. Flip it over. As you can see, I've got a bit of packing to sort of make sure I don't damage the Loco that I'm resting it on. And we pop those 2 screws back in at the back of the tender. That's it, job done. It's as simple as that. Didn't get much footage, but this is a brief clip of it running on DCC. That is the slowest it will go. And you can probably hear that buzzing noise has gone, which is great. And yeah, it's definitely running quieter now in terms of the buzzing. And it runs great on DC, but I have to say I was really quite disappointed with the slow speed performance. So I'll show you that clip again of the crawl. It literally goes from a halt to that, which is not very good really. It should crawl a lot slower than that on DCC. I was a bit disappointed. In fact, it's a slower crawl on DC. So, and just to prove the point, this is the same chip with the same settings in the Dapol Loco, and yes, it is moving. That's the slowest crawl on the Dapol Loco. So yeah, if you have any ideas as to how I can improve that slow running, I have tried setting the minimum voltage to 0 and setting it to 1 and some other low values. Made no difference at all. I tried changing the average voltage up and down, made no difference, and the maximum voltage also obviously reduced the top speed but didn't have any effect on the slow running. I don't think it's the gearing, because the DC crawl was slower. I tried switching, if you know about these things, CV value 29 bit 4. You can switch between a 3-point curve and a built-in acceleration curve. That made no difference. I tried the Hornby Select and the Z21. That made no difference. So yeah, I think it's maybe it's the Hornby circuit board. But if you do have any ideas for me to try, stick them in the comments and I'll give it a go. But yeah, for now I think I'll change it back to DC and maybe stick with DC for the TT locos. Bonus feature number 1, because that was so easy, I decided to go a bit further and unscrew the 4 screws on the sort of PCB and have a look at the space provided for a speaker. Now the speakers for this tend to be a standard width and height, which as I understand it is 15 by 11 millimeters, and various different heights. So there's the space. As you can see, we've comfortably got 15 mil there, probably 16 in terms of the length, and the width, well, you can see it will fit an 11 mil, so it's the standard length and width. Excuse the not so high precision measuring method for the height. I do now realise I could have used my tyre tread depth gauge from my car, which would have been a bit more accurate maybe, but you can pretty clearly see that it's going to have to be a 5 mil tall speaker. You might just fit a 6 in, but I wouldn't risk it. So yeah, that's the space for the Sugar Cube speaker. So perhaps an idea for a future project, we shall see. And bonus feature number 2, I really got carried away and took the body off the loco. 3 screws on the bottom, and then 3 screws on the top. There's a plate covering this motor, and here's what it looks like if you were curious. I believe it's a 3-pole motor. It looks completely sealed. There was a fair bit of grease in places that didn't really need grease, so I've cleaned it up a bit and removed most of that and just put a drop of DAP oil, sort of thin machine oil type oil on it. But yeah, if you're wondering what it looked like inside, there you go. There we are then. Hope you enjoyed that. Wasn't so scary after all, was it? So yeah, now you know how to fit a DCC chip and what the motor and gears look like inside. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.